double teamed. Fires one up and hits from behind the backboard with the shot clock running down. Clint Capella.
No Trey? No problem. The Hawks blow out the Bucks in Game 4 and tie up the series. We will have the latest on Giannis' scary injury from the third quarter and where the Bucks go from here on their side. We've got two-time NBA champ Chris Bosh stopping by to chop it up. I don't know if we have champagne for him though, Richard. So go crazy. Get excited.
Dikembe.
We're in the conference finals and the jump starts now. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. Today I'm joined by the two best friends anybody could have. 2016 champ Richard Jefferson here in LA. 2008 champ Kendrick Perkins back in Texas. Later in the show, we get to reveal the WNBA All-Star roster. Very exciting. But first, yet another unfortunate injury this postseason. Two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo jumping up to contest an alley-oop with 7 minutes, 14 seconds remaining in the third quarter when his left knee appeared to buckle. He falls on the floor here in obvious pain, grimacing, clutching his knee, and the Bucks, well, they're calling it a hyperextended left knee for now, but sources telling ESPN that Giannis is expected to undergo further imaging on the knee today. This is frustrating for a Bucks team seeking its first NBA Finals appearance since 1974, but an injury to their star player, not exclusive to them, of course, this postseason. If Giannis misses Game 5, he would be the 10th different All-Star this season to miss a playoff game. The list of 9 already the most in a single postseason all time. And that, by the way, doesn't even include Trae Young because he was not named an All-Star this season. Of course, he was last season. Richard, what do you make of the rash of injuries to all of these stars in this playoffs?
Well, look, people have talked about it. They were warned about it before. A lot of it was soft tissue injury, and that's where you saw the hamstrings, the calves, like a lot of that stuff that was affecting players' groins. But ultimately, this is part of the game, and it's unfortunate. We knew that there was going to be a rash, and everyone's like, oh, you only care about the superstars. That's the only thing you're talking about. The only reason why we're talking about the superstars is because they're the ones that play the most minutes.
Right.
So their bodies are most likely to be the most fatigued. Yes, they are most likely to be the best specimens, but they are also the one pushing themselves to the limit. So it's unfortunate, but I think this season the champion is going to be decided by whoever has the most health luck.
I mean, to a degree, it's always decided a little bit by that perk, but it feels more significant this year, right? Perky with us?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I'm right here. I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm so used to Richard talking so much. I didn't know it was my turn. I didn't know it was my turn. But it's all good. But at the end of the day, look, I hate all the injuries that's happening, and Richard and you are right as far as with is part of it is luck. But I have to put a little blame on the NBA. And I was one of the guys that were kind of critical of LeBron earlier when he was like, this is not a good idea. And I retweeted something and said, check ball. Nobody was trying to hear that. Get the Christmas Day game started. But this is the reason why. Because they had a short turnaround, didn't get a chance to have a full training camp, and then all of a sudden you go into a season where guys not adjusted to the workload, and this is what happened. You start to have these soft tissue injuries. Guys who playing a lot of minutes, like Richard just said, for as all the All-Stars and stuff like that, they're asked to perform at a high level. They're asked to play makeup games. All-Star game was thrown in there after they were promised that it wouldn't be an All-Star weekend. So going through the COVID protocol, a lot of things to me were kind of like set up for the players to have injuries, in my opinion, by the NBA. That's just my personal opinion.
It's been a grueling season. There's no arguing that. And some of the stuff that's happened has just been necessary. All these COVID protocols mean that these guys have been tested 2 or 3 times a day, that normally when they would be sleeping at 11 p.m., they have to go to the practice facility, or at 6 a.m., they have to go to the practice facility, which I get it. Poor millionaire has to set his alarm clock. But you are out there pushing your body to the limit in a short period of time between games. And then when your patterns are disrupted, I think, frankly, in my mind, that has been the most damaging, more so than the start date. The start date really affected the 4 teams that were left in the bubble. we were showing Kyrie Irving's injury. He wasn't even in the bubble. I mean, he hadn't played in so long, so I'm not sure the start date is what did someone like him in, but just as you guys say, when you have tired bodies, fatigued bodies get injured more quickly.
There's no sympathy, Rachel. That's the number one thing that I picked from this. When people were critical of Bron when he said this a couple of weeks ago, and even Perk, he said it. He was like, "Oh, no one's trying to hear that check ball," and it was like, well. There were other people. It wasn't just Bron. A lot of times his voice is the loudest because it has the biggest platform. But ultimately, there were a lot of people to discuss this. And so many times you have teams trying to protect players, but like the league should also try and protect their players in certain moments, trying to figure out best ways to get break.
Well, look, we'll have to see sort of how they go the rest of the way. Obviously, for a team like the Clippers, they played every other day for pretty much this entire playoffs. Some other teams have had to deal with that. They're trying to race to get these playoffs in before the Olympic Games because guys have commitments to their home teams and things like that. TV has contractual commitments. And then next season, we are supposed to be on schedule. So we will get back to what we used to have. Focusing back in on this series, though, if we look at the Hawks, they entered the game as 9-point underdogs because, of course, Trae Young wasn't playing because of that bone bruise in his foot. Well, they still blew the Bucks out, and it wasn't just the Giannis injury either. They led by 13 points at halftime. After the win, Hawks coach Nate McMillan updated Trae Young's status for Game 5.
I don't know. It was the report was just tonight he's out. He didn't feel comfortable enough to put pressure on his foot tonight. So I'll get a report tomorrow, and I'm sure it'll be a game time decision.
All right, so Trae is, you heard Nate, a game time decision for Game 5. We're tied 2-2. Giannis' health is now in question. Perk, how do you see this series playing out?
Well, I see the Bucks winning in 7, and this is the reason why. Because they have home court advantage, and also they have two guys over there. One of them is signed a contract for $177 million, and the other signed for $160 million, and that's Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. They're getting paid the big bucks. It's time for them to elevate their game. There's no way that we should be leaving out of a game like last night and saying that a young guy like Cam Reddish, who has been out for 4 months, outplayed Chris Middleton. That's no excuse. And then you have Drew Holiday, right? I know Lou Will, but Lou Will's up in age. He still could get buckets, but Lou Will shouldn't outplay Drew Holiday. And then now I'm thinking maybe you'll change, maybe Mike Budenholzer change his offense. Feature Brook Lopez some more on the low block. Let him get going. Feature Bobby Portis. We all know that Brook Lopez still have something left in the tank for scoring on the low block. He's a guy that's capable of getting 20 and 10. But when it comes down to the Milwaukee Bucks, it's all about their mindset. Are they going to be locked in? Are they going to play smart basketball and not be dumb? That's the thing. But I still can see the Bucks pulling this out in 7 games due to home court advantage.
It's so tough because this Bucks team has the makeup of a champion. They have the makeup of a perennial, dominant playoff team. But they have consistent playoff struggles. I won't just say failures. Like, everyone goes through those hiccups. It doesn't matter if you're LeBron James, if you're Michael Jordan. Everyone goes through those hiccups. But the most frustrating thing is in moments like this. Right? Chris Middleton, and look, Perk was quick to say, I don't think it's Batman and Robin. I think it's Batman and Superman. Well, you're wrong on that one, because ultimately what Batman does is he's going to show up every single time. And that is a moment where you can't go 6 for 17. You can't follow up that type of performance that you had that had everyone saying, oh, well, they've turned a corner. Middleton has turned a corner. He can be that supporting player. But that supporting player, you know what he's got to do? He's got to do right now what Paul George is doing. When my big fella is out or down, I raise my game up. I don't go 6 for 17 and lose to a team without Trae Young. That's devastating. That's demoralizing, not only to the team, but also your fan base. That hurts your fan base when they see that, because it's hard to support that type of performance consistently.
Well, Rachel, to be honest, right now Chris Middleton is making me and RJ look pretty damn bad.
More you, a lot more you, dog.
Because Offset yesterday, you told Rachel and I, hey, you remember when I said No. You remember when you was like, oh, you remember last year I got criticized for saying that Chris Middleton is the Michael Jordan and Giannis is the Scottie Pippen.
I didn't say that. I said that Giannis had to find his Michael Jordan, that he couldn't be the best player on his team in the last 6 minutes. There needed to be somebody better, and Middleton stepped up. But I was surprised that Middleton had that type of moment. But don't put that on me, dog.
Oh man, you know what? That's just a coward move, man. Running from the smoke, running from Twitter trolls. That's just weak of you, RJ.
What are you talking
but at the end of the day, look, Rachel.
Oh, okay.
Rachel. At the end of the day, listen. I'm gonna go back to the home court advantage. All right. Fans help you win games, right? Mm-hmm. How many times, and we talked about this time and time again, how many times have you done post-game interviews and players have said, hey, I thank the fans helped us through this game. Mm-hmm. Look, the arenas is going to be rocking. Role players play better at home. Milwaukee has the home court advantage. Milwaukee still have two stars on their team, 2 all-star caliber players, and Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday. I feel like they could get it done in 7.
Make sure you tell that to the Brooklyn Nets.
Look, what's complicated for both of these teams, and they're both dealing with it, is that those supporting players are built, the team is structured to be built around that one elite player, right? When you talk about some of the other guys on the roster, they are there on purpose. If you have done good team building to complement, they're not just supposed to be good, they're supposed to be good but also complementary to your star player. And once you take that star player out of the orbit that everyone else is circling, it becomes more complicated to figure out how to push someone else into that middle sun position. I'm doing an analogy.
Well, I get the analogy you're saying. You're saying that, look, like
you take Trey or Giannis out.
Yes, but the Hawks figured it out, and the Hawks don't have a Chris Middleton. And
that's the challenge, and the Hawks were the one who were able to get it done in the last game.
That's the frustration. It's like the frustration. It's like the Bucks have 4 guys that have been all-stars. They have 4 guys on their teams that have been all-stars. Mm-hmm. You have Brook Lopez, you have Chris Middleton, you have Jrue Holiday, and Giannis. One of them goes down, Giannis being the best player. That's an opportunity for other guys to step up, and we've seen it around the league with other players. Chris Paul goes out, Phoenix Suns still win. Devin Booker steps up. Campaign steps up. All of a sudden, it's like these guys go out, and then it's just stuttering the whole time.
The challenge has been laid down. The Bucks are going back home. We'll have to see what they can do in Milwaukee. All right, coming up, we will reveal. I'm Rachel Nichols, joined by Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins, and I now want to welcome in Hall of Famer-elect, 2-time NBA champ Chris Bosh to the show. Chris, lovely to have you back with us. And I want to ask you about the Clippers. They have 7 wins when trailing in a series.
Rachel.
Go ahead.
Hey, Rachel, can we tell Chris to back up from the camera a little bit?
That's what you interrupted Rachel to get that. Okay, now carry on, Rachel. Carry the hell on.
Carry on, indeed. Look, that is the single most postseason wins in NBA history when a team is in that position. So, Chris, fill in the blank for me, and I think that you look lovely in your camera space. I'm just going to put that out there.
Thank you.
The Clippers can take Game 6 tonight if blank.
Well, I mean, I think it's all about Paul George. And, I would like to give Paul George his roses while they can smell them. He's been taking a beating. Every time he laces them up, for whatever reason, people like to make him the pincushion of that team. But he's always showed poise, regardless of how tough the situation got. And he's always had an answer back and just came out and played basketball. So if he continues just to lead this team, I think defensively, of course, as a team, you want to make sure you're getting stops. You want to make sure that you're not giving Devin Booker and Chris Paul open looks all night and, letting Aiden function down low. But I think offensively, if Paul George and Reggie Jackson lead the punch, I think they'll definitely have a shot, especially on their home court tonight.
Chris, you were the lightning rod for a while in Miami. What is that like to deal with, and how did you learn to shut it out? Because Paul seems to have learned to shut it out.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about playing basketball. And I had to understand that every great player goes through it. You have to prove yourself night in and night out. And so I just continued to work on my craft. I didn't really worry about things I couldn't control and people talking. That stuff gets old fast. And usually it gets old from someone who's not successful in what they're doing, making you mad as you're trying to win a championship or something like that. So, I just put my aggression, put my faith, put everything into my work. And, at the end of the day, it's basketball. You go out there and do what you're born to do. And I think Paul George has done a magnificent job of really just showing how you can be mentally strong and keep succeeding.
Well, again, here we go again down this same roller coaster, okay? At the end of the day, this is what you signed up for. You signed up for, you're on the biggest platform. It comes with getting paid. It comes with fortune and the fame. Sometimes it's good fame, sometimes it's bad fame, okay? Again, Paul George gave himself a nickname, Playoff P. He put himself under a microscope. Everyone has been criticized throughout their career. Good, great, average, role players, whatever the case may be. This is what you signed up for. Who cares? The great Kevin Garnett, you know what he used to tell me? The same way you used to run and want to go to Sports Center or go to ESPN or go to the newspaper articles and read things about yourself when you do something good, do the same thing when you do something bad. Use that energy to fuel yourself to prove the haters wrong or prove the doubters wrong. Again, Paul George is balling. He's doing his thing, but at the end of the day, he put himself under this microscope.
The question is, the Clippers
no,
win
I'm not
game
answering.
6.
I answered the question.
What was your answer? I don't think any of the 4 people in this panel.
What's your answer? Richard, what's your answer?
Oh, you would like my answer? Okay.
Yes.
I agree, if Paul George continues to lead in the manner that he has, and it's been so impressive, and I know we talk about that. We tried to give Chris Middleton his flowers 2 games ago, and he showed up and give us 6 for 17 last game and lose to a team without Trae Young.
This is just
it's bothering me.
Every conversation.
No, because then we can give a reference to Paul George and his level of consistency that he has done. They lose their best player, and he just keeps winning and continues to win and continues these numbers. He's in historic categories when you look at scoring 20 plus in the first 17 games in the postseason. It's Kobe, it's Bron, it's MJ that did it like 4 times. So he's in elite category because he's an elite player. So that's why I believe that the Clippers will win if he continues playing at the same level that he's been playing all postseason.
I just don't know how much longer he can hold up. We talked about this on the show yesterday, that he has played 735 playoff minutes, and that is 130 more than any other player. That's just a crazy disparity. And those are hard-earned minutes, right? Especially once Kawhi got off the floor, the way other teams are defending him, the physical beating that he's taking out there. So they are playing every other day. So far, most games he is able to be up to the challenge. A couple games he has looked tired there, and he will have to not be tired tonight because it is another elimination game for the LA Clippers. I do want to flip to the Suns side, though, and look at some interesting splits from Devin Booker in this series. He's played a similar amount of minutes alongside Cam Payne and Chris Paul, just with Chris missing, of course, those first 2 games of the Western Conference Finals. Now, alongside Payne, Booker's scoring per 36 minutes and shooting percentages, they're higher across the board. Richard, is this just a matter of, hey, Chris Paul's shot isn't quite falling right now? How do you explain the Devin Booker splits?
Well, look, we're not going to get carried away. I think the responsibility of Chris Paul is very different, and I think Devin Booker's responsibilities completely change when there's Chris Paul. Chris Paul does a very good job of spreading the offense to everyone. That's why he's considered the point guard of this generation. So, yeah, maybe Booker's numbers might drop a little bit, but other people's numbers elevate. So I'm not going to turn this into a weird conversation. Is he better with Payne than Chris Paul? That's just insanity. Perk will do that.
Well, I'm not going to do that, and you're wrong. I'm going to say it's because of Patrick Beverley. And Patrick Beverley has been frustrating Devin Booker, and he has to find a way to shake it off. Also, Ty Lue has done a great job of actually making Devin Booker defend. So he doesn't have all that extra energy on the offensive end. Something like what Ty Lue did against Steph Curry. He searched him out and made him defend. That's why Devin Booker has been in foul trouble a lot lately. That's why Devin Booker hasn't been able to get a rhythm, because Ty Lue is making him defend alongside Patrick Beverley screaming first team all defense so loud that everyone in the world could hear him. So that's my answer to the question, Rachel. Richard thought it was something else, but obviously he don't know me that well.
By choice.
Well, I think, in my opinion, this is kind of where data can get lost. This is when it's too much data.
Right.
Look, as a player, you understand as a scorer, when you have your point guard out in CP and he's not distributing, you have to step up. You have to make sure that you're carrying that load for whichever unit is out there. And I'm sure they've worked up a rhythm all season to where Booker knows to where he can be aggressive. But look, at the end of the day, they're up 3-2. They've got another opportunity to close them out, and that's what it's about. The Clippers are going to have to come with it. They're going to have a lot of energy on their home court. But in my opinion, I think if the Suns play the basketball they're capable of, they can get out of there with a win tonight.
You just have to look at Chris Paul's track record, too. I know that he has some notable nights in the playoffs where things didn't go his way, but man, his track record, there's much more on the side of having some fantastic nights in the playoffs. So much more. And I just have to think he is due for one of those nights in this series. We will find out. Chris, right quick before we go to break, I did want to get to our Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the Lakers are finalizing a deal with your old coach, David Fizdale, to become an assistant coach with the Lakers. He was the lead assistant there in your Miami days. So what does Fizz bring to a coaching bench?
I mean, he's going to bring, of course, that coach who loves to get into the film, knows a lot about the game. He brings a presence that's great for a locker room as well, because he loves nothing more than basketball. And, him being an LA guy, coming back home to be able to coach for the Lakers, I mean, that's a dream come true, I'm sure. And really, he's filling a void left by Jason Kidd, him moving on to a head coaching spot. I'm sure that they will need another presence to fill in that bench. And I think, for Fizdale, he's one of the best guys out there, as you guys know.
Yes.
We talk all the time, and I mean, he's ready, he's eager, he's excited. And I know he's going to do a fantastic job with vocal staff out there in LA.
I love it. And yes, congratulations to Fizz. We'll miss you here on the jump set, but we're gonna love to watch you work. All right, coming up.
With Dame, and it has nothing to do with this opportunity. My relationship goes some years back with him. I've always just been a big fan of his. We've developed a really good friendship over the years. Nothing changes now. Nothing changes now. Obviously, me having to coach him, we'll get to know each other a lot more. Me having to hold him accountable to being the great player that he is. But it doesn't change who he is, who I am, what we're both about. Nothing changes to me.
Welcome back to The Jump. That was new Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups yesterday on his relationship with superstar Damian Lillard. It was a tense introductory press conference, guys. Reporters asking about both the 1997 sexual assault allegations against Chauncey and the franchise's internal investigation into those allegations. The presser did also include basketball questions, which is where we got that bite about Dame. So, Chris, I'll start with you. This is only the second head coach Lillard has had in his 9 years in the league. Given everything at issue here, what do you think of the Chauncey hire?
I think it's the right hire.
I love it.
Of course.
I love it. Oh, you said Chris.
Yeah, I did. That's all right. We got to.
I mean, I think it's the right hire. Chauncey has been, knocking at the door for a while. Getting some experience with the Clippers. I think they made the right call. And in this kind of situation, you have to trust the Blazers that they've done their due process. They're going to continue to do it and make sure that everything is in good standing. But after that, I think for them, it's about keeping Dame. He is once in a generational talent. You want to make sure you do all that you can to make sure that you build all the best team around him, because he's in the peak of his powers right now. You want to take advantage of that for the city of Portland, and I think Chauncey can really come in, add some new energy, and most importantly, just get a shot and a crack at being a head coach in the NBA, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, I'm not going to crack any jokes about Perk, but this is the thing that I want to say about why I like this hire. Let's look at who Chauncey Billups is as an individual. This is a man that, after kind of bouncing around and finding his way and finding his home in Detroit, what was his hallmark? It was defense. It was how can we be kind of, Memphis is the grit and grind, but they were the kind of one of the originators that they brought back that really intense. We're going to be possession basketball. We're going to outwork you. That is what, in my opinion, the Portland Trailblazers have lost. They have all the sexy offense. Dame can give you 50. He can give you 60. He can do all that. But when you look at their defense, they're always one of the lower-ranked defensive teams. So you bring in a coach that has defensive mindset, that knows how to impact the game in that way. So if he can impact Dame in that way and impact the organization, I think now they can start to build something.
Well, I agree with you, RJ. When you look at Chauncey's resume, it's longer than the holiday weekend. And when you talk about what Dame is trying to go, what Dame is trying to accomplish, Chauncey has already accomplished that. An NBA champion as a player and a Finals MVP. But also, we look around the league right now and look at what's going on with all the teams that are still playing. You look at the Clippers with Ty Lue, right? A coaching change. Now players have elevated their game. You look at how Paul George is playing and the others around them. You look at the Atlanta Hawks with their coaching change. A new voice in the locker room changes everything. Even last night, we were talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, but I wanted to give more credit to Nate McMillan because he had those guys ready to play. Yeah. Defensively, they were locked in. Offensively, they were playing beautiful basketball. So with that being said, having a new voice in that locker room, a guy that played at the game of basketball at the highest level, an all-star, a champion, should be in the Hall of Fame. He can hold these guys accountable. They're going to score with the best of them, but to RJ's point, now you could get them back where they're playing defense and hold them accountable to that level so that they can win games and try to win a championship in Portland.
Look, the Damian Lillard factor is so huge here because there's been rumors, cryptic social media posts from Lillard. One reporter asked Blazers GM Neil O'Shea how he plans to keep Dame happy. Watch what he said.
Dame's happiness always revolves around winning, and having a chance to win at the highest level. The ultimate responsibility for that falls on me and my staff, to put a team together that we can walk into the beginning of the season think it has a chance to compete for a championship. Two things. It's one, making sure Dame's confident in that. Look, he loves Portland. Every conversation is he doesn't want to leave Portland. He wants to retire a Trailblazer. He's expressed that to me and the stakeholders in the company. And I told Dame, look, if you got to drive my butt every day to make sure we're out on a limb, we're taking risks, we're doing everything we can to build a roster that you feel and the rest of the guys on the team feel can walk in with the swagger knowing the roster is not going to be why they can't compete for a championship, that's on me.
Well, speaking of, here is a look at Portland's off-season outlook. Richard, there is a lot of pressure on the Blazers front office to do something this summer. Do you trust them to build a contender around Dame?
I do trust them in the sense that when you're starting with Dame, right, you got to fill in the pieces. It's like when you have a player, a lot of franchises don't even have a player that's a top 10 player like Dame Lillard, one of the best guards of this era, if you look at what he's capable of doing. So when you're starting there, that makes the job exponentially easier. So I do believe in that. And a lot of it is giving the player what they believe they need, but also putting people around them that will hold him accountable. And I think Chauncey Billups, I think bringing in Carmelo Anthony, I think those are big steps in the right direction, but they still have more to do.
Yeah, they have a lot. They have a lot to do, and it's just ironing out the wrinkles, in my opinion. Like even if you look at this year's team, you look at Nurkic lashing out about him not being happy, about not being part of the offense. See, that's a problem in itself. You want to bring guys in there not only that fits around Dame, but they're gonna buy into their roles and be stars in their roles, and not try to go outside their body. Because I actually think Nurkic is a good fit for this team when he decides to do his role. But if I'm Portland, I'm going out there and trying to fulfill the hardest position to get, and that's the wing position. You got to go get some type of wings that could defend and knock down threes. I know Norman Powell is good at that. He's a little smaller than what you would like, but to compete in the Western Conference against Paul George, against Kawhi Leonard, against LeBron James, you need those wing defenders.
I mean, I think they will do their best to put together a championship contender. Will that happen? We have yet to see. But, you have to say the right things, right? You have to, and it really starts with up top, coming down from the general manager. And then hopefully that message gets resonated through the head coach. But with everything said, you know, we all know Dame wants to win. We all know the Blazers want to win. And, you know, let's be frank, they're right there. You can see that they're losing in situations to where you could have said, okay, if they had X amount of more pieces, they would have been able to be successful. So it's on them to figure those things out. The pressure is there. I think we can all, you know, agree that it's about a 1 to 2 year window to see what happens. So it's great talking about it right now. They're going to have a hell of a plan for next year. And they're going to have to compete their butts off and learn on the fly. And hopefully they'll bring that championship situation through Chauncey Billups into the team and the rest of the locker room.
Well, the C.J. McCollum trade rumors that have been, I mean, they've been going on for years at this point, right? I mean, those are way up and running right now. We'll just have to see what they can do to shake up the roster a little bit, because we did hear as the season ended for them, several players saying they just don't feel like they had a roster that could win at this level and win at the level they need to. We'll see what happens. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. We will see you soon. Coming up next, is on, and Chris Paul is looking to try to close out the series tonight right across the street. Would like to make his first ever NBA Finals appearance. He has been on a team in the past that has, of course, blown a 3-1 lead. We heard him talking about that after the Clippers went up when he was on the Clippers. The Suns went up 3-1. He's having Clippers memories. Richard, how much pressure is on CP3 tonight?
I think there's a tremendous amount of pressure, but not the type of pressure that he can't handle.
Yeah.
I think he's been in these moments before. It's all about his approach. Is his approach going to be, hey, let me make sure I'm getting guys involved. Don't try and do too much. Do what you've always done. Get everybody involved. Pick your moments, and then come fourth quarter, go be the Chris Paul that you've been all season, that you've been all over your career. That's your moment, because once you've established everybody else, that lane opens up for you to do your work. That should be his formula to go dominate that game, and then other guys have to step up also.
Yeah, well, if he go by your formula, he's going to lose. Right now, he has to make sure he comes out in attack mode. He's dealing with a young group that is going against an experienced group in the Clippers. He has to come out firing. He has to lead the charge, period, point blank.
Well, look, I would expect more from DeAndre Ayton tonight, so I think that's going to make a difference in terms of CP and what's available to him. But my money is always on Chris Paul, because he has been able to pay that off over and over again. Doesn't mean they're going to win tonight, but I think he will be able to be the Chris Paul that we expect either way. Thanks for watching The Jump. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight.